Hey guys, welcome back. Something exciting just happened. DeepSeek, which is out of China, an AI lab, they have come out with their new reasoning model, which is R1. And they recently wrote this tweet saying that DeepSeek R1 is here, performance which is on par with OpenAI O1, fully open source model, and technical report is also present. And the best part about this is it is MIT licensed, which is you can distill it and commercialize and distribute it freely. This is a game changer for a lot of businesses. In this video, we'll take a look at the technical report, the research insights, and then we'll also take a look at how the benchmark performs the larger model as well as the distilled models. We'll also take a look at the API pricing, and then we'll test this LLM out with the rubric that have been created, which tackles a lot of aspects, something like logical reasoning, spatial reasoning, relational understanding, and we'll go through all of these questions with the LLM one by one and see how they perform. Coming back to the report that DeepSeek came out with, they say that we introduce our first generation reasoning model, DeepSeek R10 and DeepSeek R1. DeepSeek R10, a model trained via large scale reinforcement learning without supervised fine tuning, as a preliminary step, demonstrated remarkable performance on reasoning. With reinforcement learning, DeepSeek R10 naturally emerged with numerous powerful and interesting reasoning behaviors. Now, this is interesting because they are saying that without the supervision, DeepSeek R10 naturally emerged with numerous powerful and interesting reasoning behaviors. This is how basically humans also evolve when it comes to cognition. Then they showcase this graph. And this is really exciting because in a lot of benchmarks like AIME, Codeforces, GPQA Diamond, which is based on the PhD level questions, Math 500, MMLU, and SWE benchmark, what is happening is you can see DeepSeek R1, which is this blue stripe, it's very comparable to something like OpenAI O1. So we can see that it's excelling in AIME. It's very comparable with the Codeforces. In GPQA Diamond, it's a little bit less, but in Math 500, it's outperforming O1. MMLU, it's again very close to O1. And finally, it's outperforming OpenAI O1 in SWE benchmark. The best part is, OpenAI is a closed source model, but DeepSeek R1 is open source here. If we go to the Hugging Face page of DeepSeek AI, we can see that it has a new collection of DeepSeek R1. And we can see a lot of models here, which is R1, R10. Then we have distilled models. We'll come back to this. In the technical report, they talk about the reinforcement learning algorithm. And they specifically talk about the approach that they have taken, which is group relative policy optimization. Other reasoning models generally go for critique model, but they have taken this approach to save training cost of reinforcement learning. Then they also showcase that they have put forward a reward modeling, which is very common in reinforcement learning. So they say that the reward is the source of the training signal, which decides the optimal direction of reinforcement learning. To train DeepSeek R10, they adopted a rule-based reward system. And this basically consists of two types of rewards, accuracy rewards and the format rewards. Accuracy reward is basically, for example, the model is required to provide the final answer in a specific format, for example within a box, enabling reliable rule-based verification of correctedness. Similarly, for lead code problems, a compiler can be used to generate feedback based on predefined test cases. So this is accuracy reward, and the same way format reward is basically, in addition to accuracy reward, they employ a format reward model that enforces the model to put forward its thinking process between the think tags. This we'll see in the test as well. If we go down in different benchmarks, we can see that DeepSeek is outperforming in some of the benchmarks that there are for English, in code. In math is interesting because all of the three benchmark, it's crushing all the other models. DeepSeek R1 has been distilled into different sizes of parameters. So we can see that it has distilled Qwen 1.5, Qwen 7b, Qwen 14b, Qwen 32b, and then we have some Llama versions of this as well at 8 billion and 70 billion. Now this is important because the main R1 model, which is I think is of 671 billion parameters, could be really big for a lot of machines to operate in local systems. That's why distilled model comes into picture, where we can run them locally and they are performing really good as well. The best thing to note here is that in, for example, AIME 2024, we can see that GPT-4o passes with 9.3 as an accuracy. But the same thing with a distilled model, which is 1.5 billion, which is a very tiny model, it's performing at 28, which is 3 times more than what GPT-4o was getting. Now, the same thing when it comes to coding as well. If we take a look at Codeforce's benchmark, we are getting 1820 as a score with OpenAI O1 Mini. But the interesting thing is with Distill Qwen 14B, we are still getting a very good score, which is 1481. And the same story is with Distill Llama 70B, which is also giving a really good score, which is 1633. You can see how this is comparable with something like GPT-4o, which is already a very good model. So right now it's very interesting because all of this is available as an open source model. We can download it, use it as we like. Now let's just quickly jump into testing this LLM model. Now let's test out the LLM. To do that, we have this platform, which is chat.deepseek.com. And we have this LLM rubric, which I have put together 10 questions, which tries to tackle different aspects of intelligence, something like logical reasoning, counting, linguistic understanding, etc. We have the correct answers, and then we can map it out whether this answer was correct or not by R1. So the first question says that, suppose you are on a game show and you are given the choice of 3 doors. Behind one door is a gold bar, behind the others, rotten vegetables. Should you switch your choice? So our answer should be, it is not advantageous to switch because it makes no difference if I switch or not, because no additional material information has been provided. So let's just give the question to the R1. So the answer, it says that yes, you should switch, which is not the correct answer, because it has calculated the probability of winning the gold bar increases to 2 by 3. But this is not true because we don't have additional information to make this assumption. So we'll put it as fail. We'll take the next question, which is Alan, Bob, Colin, Dave, and Emily are standing in a circle. Alan is on Bob's immediate left. Bob is on Colin's immediate left. Colin is on Dave's immediate left. Dave is on Emily's immediate left. Who is on Alan's immediate right? Now this is trying to tackle spatial reasoning. Answer should be Bob is on the immediate left of Alan. So let's just give this question to our model. So we can see that thinking process was really long. The final answer, it says, is Bob, which is the correct one. So we'll mark it as pass. So the next question tries to understand the relational understanding, and the question is, Sally has 3 brothers. Each brother has 2 sisters. How many sisters does Sally have? So the answer should be Sally has 1 sister because each of her brother has 2 sisters, which includes Sally and one another girl. So the answer should be 1. Let's give it to R1. So it comes out with an answer saying that Sally has 1 sister. So this is also a pass. Okay, now we'll tackle a question of counting, and the question is, count the number of occurrences of letter R in the word strawberry. Now this is a question which gained a lot of traction previously, and a lot of LLMs were not able to solve this question. The answer should be there are 3 R's in the strawberry. Let's give it to DeepSeek. So we can see that it answers this question correctly, which is 3 occurrences. And we can also see the reasoning process where it listed down all the letters from the word and then figured out whether it is R or not. So let's put it as pass. Now we'll go to linguistic understanding, which is write a sentence where every word starts with a letter A. Let's see if R1 is able to do that. So we can see that it comes out with this sentence and every word of this sentence starts with letter A. So linguistic understanding is also pass. Now we'll go to mathematical reasoning. So the question is, a robot has 8 arms. There are 5 objects on the table: a knife, a fork, a spoon, a teddy bear, and a doll. The robot picks up each object with an arm. He then shakes hands with himself. How many arms does he have free? And the answer should be one hand free. Let's give it to R1. So we can see that it says the answer is 1, which is correct. So mathematical reasoning is also a pass. Now we'll take a look at another question from popular science knowledge. The question is, which weighs more? A pound of water, 2 pounds of brick, a pound of feathers, or 3 pounds of air? And the answer should be 3 pounds of air. Let's give it to R1 and see. So it says the answer is 3 pounds of air, which is again correct. Now we'll come to the logical puzzle solving question, which is, a farmer wants to cross a river with a wolf, a goat, and a cabbage in the boat with 3 secure compartments. How can he transport them safely? The answer should be, place the wolf, goat, and cabbage in separate secure compartments in the boat and row across the river. This will prevent any of them being eaten by others. Let's give it to R1. So it says that place the wolf, goat, and cabbage into separate compartment, cross the river in one trip, which is exactly what was the answer. So we'll put it as pass. Now, a question of common sense. Question is, I get out on top floor, which is on the 3rd floor at street level. How many stories in the building above the ground? So the answer should be 1 story above the ground. Let's give it to R1. So the answer is only 1 floor, which is exactly what the answer was. So we can put it as pass. Now we have the question of adversarial understanding. You have 6 horses and want to race them to see which is fastest. What is the best way to do this? And the answer is, race them on a single race track with at least 6 lanes. The order in which they cross the line determines which is the fastest. Let's give it to R1. So it gives out the solution that race all the 6 horses in a single race. The first place horse is the fastest. And the answer was similar, that race them on a single racetrack with at least 6 lanes. So we'll put this as a pass as well. So we can see that 9 out of 10 questions were correct by this open source model, which is equivalent to what we have got with O1 as well. This is really exciting because this is available for free for anyone to use with MIT license. And if we want to use it as an API, the cost is also really cheap. So if we go and take a look at the models and pricing, we can see that DeepSeek Reasoners, the input token, 1 million token, is at $0.14 and the output token price is $2.19, which is really, really interesting because it is very cheap as compared to something like O1. We can even see the pricing comparison here. DeepSeek R1 input tokens are so cheap that we can't even see the bar graph here. It stands at 0.14. We can see that O1 is so expensive at $7.5 per 1 million input tokens. And the same thing we can see as the output price as well. In output price, DeepSeek R1 is at 2.19, but on the other hand, O1 is going up to $60 per 1 million output tokens. So we can see that how cheap this particular model would be if we want to use it through a cloud API request. But because it's open source, we can run it locally as well. To download it, we can come to Hugging Face repository, and here we are provided with multiple options. So we can download the major, which is 671 billion parameter model. Then we can also download the distilled models, which can run better at our local systems. So in future videos, I'll be taking a look at them. We'll try to incorporate it with tools like Bolt.diy or Klein. So if you are interested, do let me know. So this is how you can download it through Hugging Face. And the same way we can download it using Ollama as well. You can see that all of these models, distilled models, are also available. Open source AI models are gaining a lot of traction and we are in this exciting times. Do like and subscribe. I'll be putting out a lot of videos on this particular model. We'll test it out with tools. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.